So I wanted to start off a new series on my channel where I basically build a SaaS product from scratch using my agentic workflows and my traditional engineering workflows as well. So you can kind of see from scratch how I build out an application. And what I want to build out is a video generation application. I worked on the Video Crafter like a year ago. Basically, it's a tool to allow users to create images and then create prompts for those images and have it create a whole video describing and like reading out a script, right? But there's a lot new models that came out. There's like WAN 2.2, 2.5. I don't know. There's other stuff out there. And I want to see if instead of just generating static images, can I actually generate videos with the voiceover using 11 Labs, with the full script written using OpenAI, and see how far we can take this. Now, when I start a project, I usually start with like the hardest idea first. So what is the hardest thing out of this whole project? It's not going to be the TanStack start stuff. It's not going to be the Postgres stuff or the Stripe Connect or the authentication. I know how to do all that. The thing that I don't know how to do is generate these videos, right? And so what I would recommend doing if you're starting like a side project is start with the hardest thing and start with a single user story that kind of encapsulates what that idea is. So in our case, a user story could be, as a user, I should be able to enter a short prompt describing an educational video and an entire video, including the video background, the voiced to text, or sorry, the text to voice, the transcript, and audio should be 100% AI generated without any additional input from the user, and allow that user to view/download the video. I'll just say user to view the video. Okay. So this user story is a little long, but I think starting with this is like good enough, especially if you have nothing written in code. So basically I want to be able to enter in a prompt. So this user can enter in a prompt, say like an educational video about warships. I'll just say like 1885 civil warships or battleships. All right. And then also we're going to hard code some things because you can have a video that's 30 seconds long. You can have a video that's 5 minutes long, right? And I think we're going to try to prune down the complexity and say we just want a 10-second long video. And the reason I'm picking 10 seconds is because most of these image to video models have like a 5-second cutoff, and they end up getting pretty expensive, right? It's like 5 cents, 10 cents a video. And so I think 10 seconds might be long enough where we can actually have 2 separate segments, and then we can stitch them together. So basically just like, add those 2 together, and then we have an output of a final video at the end. So this could be segment 1, segment 2. There's some things that we have to kind of explore, like what is the video model that we want to use. I know WAN is one that a lot of people use. WAN 2.2 might be kind of old. I think there's like a 2.5, but we're going to find a good cost-effective one so we can kind of experiment with this. But basically, given an educational video about a 1885 Civil War battleship, or sorry, this isn't even Civil War, is it? Is 1885 or 1860? I think 1860 is Civil War. Given that, we want to basically generate a transcript. So we need to figure out a way to generate a full transcript. So this will be like Lorem Ipsum. And I'll just go ahead and like copy that. And you should have a lot of this, right? You should have at least 10 seconds worth of educational script. So step 1 is we need to basically enter in a prompt, and then we need to generate a script. And then after we get the script, we need to find a way to break this down into smaller segments. So like read through the script, and then for every certain amount of words, depending on how the words per minute for the person reading this, it would take, we could probably regenerate a new video here, right? So I think the idea that I have now is like basically take this and somehow break it down into how many segments that you think we'll need. Sorry, maybe this will need 2 or 3 different segments to be able to fully explain that. And then we could basically have a certain section of the text be summarized into an image. So we can have like a starting image. And then that starting image, we could then have it automatically describe a prompt. So like describe a prompt to generate the start image and also the image to video description. Sorry, I think WAN 2.2 can just basically generate videos for you. So I could maybe even skip this starting image thing and just have it like generate a video that describes this part of the text, generate a different video that describes this part of the text. But I do think at some point we're going to want consistency between the different segments. And so having some type of global description, we can probably come later. But again, let's just stick to the simple user story. I just want to be able to take in a prompt and have it generate at least 10 seconds of a video, including the voice to text and all this other stuff. So yeah, at this point we should have a starting image, and that should generate an actual like video segment. And then we should be able to somehow stitch those together. So say WAN2 comes in with like a starting image, and it should come out with like a video segment. And then finally we have to stitch these things all together into a final video format. So we'll have a video at the end. And then we can probably get into the technical details of like what that video is going to be. Like how are we going to stitch it together? I know FFmpeg is my de facto I've used in various different projects. But somehow we're going to have to stitch together the audio, the video, and then somehow give captions as well so that we can have this all be generated together. So that's an overall idea of like what we're going to be doing. So here I'll probably say like 2 split into different segments based on, I don't know, word length. And yeah, we can do something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a screenshot of this, so we can then feed it into AI and see how far we can take this. Again, starting with like a high level overview of what you want to do and feeding that into AI is actually kind of useful. So we'll do that. I already have an AI video generator application project already set up. And then we are going to also copy this whole user story. And then I'm going to paste this in here. So I'll say user story, and then I'll just go ahead and paste in that text. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and give it like a prompt, like an example of the prompt. So here I'll say example prompt. And then I want to say technical requirements. Okay. And again, we could probably put this all in a docs folder. And I could just say like prd.md or something. I don't know. In fact, I could actually call this like user stories. I'll say like user story initial user story. I don't know. We can kind of make this better in a bit. But we'll paste all that in. And we could probably put some technical requirements here. I want to say keep this as simple as possible. I just want a single node script I can run, pass in an argument with the original prompt, and it should generate the video. Okay, I also say all assets generated during this script should be written to disk so I can easily debug the process. I think this is a very important step. And then I'm also going to say we should be using Val.ai for the WAN 2.2 video generation. We should be using OpenAI. I'll just say like GPT-5 for the script generation. Verify, or I'll say hard code the video length. I only want 10 to 15 seconds, so figure out the average words per minute read using something such as 11 labs text to voice. Use 11 labs text to voice to generate the voice for the script. Okay, and so again, we could probably just get rid of a lot of this stuff and instead tag the user story. And I think that's probably a good start. Now, I would probably say let's use Opus for this, but I have been playing around with Composer 1.5. I kind of like it. It just runs faster and you can kind of iterate faster on it. So we'll see how this does. I mean, it's going to be hit and miss, but overall, when you're doing agentic coding, I found that iteration is like the key. Don't ever expect just one prompt solutions for everything. Like you have to kind of iterate. So I think this is pretty good. Yeah, and then we'd also say like use FFmpeg for stitching together the final video segments. Figure out an elegant solution to generate the full video and wait for stuff to finish when invoking the Val.ai API, the OpenAI SDK, etc. Now, at some point, you can probably just add in too much text and it's just like not really useful. But I'm going to go ahead and just plan this out and see how far it can get. And while it's planning it out, I'm going to make a .env file. And we can start doing like an OpenAI API key and then also a file key. And I do have those. I have to find them. Okay, so I have the .env file set up. One thing I think we should do that I forgot to do is I would like to go to file. And then we are going to actually provide it the model that I want. So I'm going to go here. Let's go to generate. Search WAN /v2 dot text. I want text to video. So they have WAN 2.6 text to video. I'm going to go look at the pricing because I really don't want to like burn through all my credits. I have like 14 bucks here. So it's 15 cents per second versus 10 cents per second for 720. So that's going to be like $1 for every video I generate, which might be a little bit much for just experimentation. I do think 2.2 has a text to video here. It says with LoRa's though. I don't know if I want LoRa's, but I think this should be fine. Let's click it. It would be 10 cents per second. They have a fast WAN. They have a WAN 2.2 text to image. Let me see how much the fast WAN is. It looks like it's 2 cents per video. So this is probably pretty good. It takes in a prompt, it takes in a number of frames, it takes in a frames per second. You can do some negative stuff. So I think starting with this could probably be okay. I don't know if it has the ability to change the ratio. Oh, it does. Okay, so 9:16. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to API and I'm gonna copy this whole thing here. And we're gonna go back to this plan. And I wanna also just specify that information. So I'm gonna say, make sure you use this model. Read this API documentation to figure out how to use WAN 2.2 text to video, and also keep aspect ratio 9:16 because I want YouTube/TikTok shorts. We can use this directly instead of needing to generate a reference starting image. And I'll paste that in. So again, we're going to try to start a little bit smaller. We're going to scale back because I did mention things like, oh, I need 11 labs, but I did mention, I think, image generation. And I want to make sure that it doesn't include that in the plan. And then also I need an 11 labs key. So I should probably go and add that to the sample. I added those to my .env. I also want to say that like, hey, here's an example of using it. I added 2 env variables for the 11 labs key and voice ID. Okay, so hopefully we have enough information. I do think I came through and updated this stuff. We could probably try to kick this off with Composer and see how it does. But yeah, this might take a couple iterations. I'm going to first look through the architecture. So the input is a prompt. We generate a script using that. We then segment the video prompts. We do asset generation by using fast WAN and 11 lags text to speech. And then we assemble it together, and then we have a video. So I could probably build this out and see how it does. And here is an example of how you can actually run it. Now I would be curious, there's probably like N8N setups that already do exactly this. But I do think building this out from scratch would be kind of interesting to see how it works. And then we could probably host this on a web application at some point so we can see how it actually does and people could pay for it if they like it. All right, so as it's generating, we have this generate MJS file. We can kind of read through here and try to figure out what it's doing. Total script, 25 to 35 words. Split into 2 to 3 segments. Okay. Uses GPT-5. Let me look at this one. Generate video segment, file, subscribe. I just want to make sure it's actually like storing them. Is it writing to them? Yeah, so it's writing to a file. Okay. All right, looks like it's done. Let's just go ahead and npm install and see if this will run. We can run it with this command here, and hopefully it works. All right, so it's running now. It looks like in the 1980s Civil War, ironclads, revolutionary. Okay, so here's a little script. Should be like 10 to 15 seconds. We have script.json, which is describing the different segments of it with the video prompt. with the text and the video prompt here. So these will probably be fed into Fal.ai to generate the actual videos. We have audio.
In the 1860s Civil War, ironclads revolutionized naval warfare. USS Monitor faced CSS Virginia.
I will say the voice is a little slow pace. I might have to find a different voice that's faster or find a tweak to make it faster. It might be very easy to do that in 11 Labs, but yeah, let's see how this does. Okay, the first video is done. Let's click it and look at what it generated. Pretty cool. I'm not sure what that, why did it just switch? Yeah, I don't know why I had a video and then it like switched it to this other video of plants, but it looks like it didn't error out at all. So there are some like internal issues with the logic we got to figure out. If we look at the final.
In the 1860s Civil War, ironclads revolutionized naval warfare.
Yeah, I think what happened is like generating the wrong, it's like using the wrong video description or something. But I think it's a good start. It only did the first period, right? So we can try to iterate on this now and just kind of like let it know that I kind of messed some stuff up. So the first thing I'll say is when generating the video, the prompt was around or about Civil War, but the videos are using educational notepad and stuff. I think the logic for using the video prompts is incorrect. Please review and fix. And then also, it also seems like the video was cut short. The audio was 22 seconds, but the final video was only 10 seconds. I need the video, or sorry, the audio to be, I need the audio/script to be the source of truth for how long the video actually is, then make the generated video, then create enough video content to fill in that total time. Figure out a better way to split up the script to allow for that. Okay, so I might just replan this again and see what it can do. But for our first iteration, pretty good. We got a final video. It's stitching those two videos together. But I think at some point we must have passed the wrong prompt, or we like overrode it with another prompt or something, because yeah, this definitely wasn't sending the warship stuff. And I will say, let's do a git init, because we do have a good starting point. I'm going to add all these things so we don't lose the progress. All right, let's look at the root cause. So root cause, wrong video content, notepads instead of Civil War. The output script JSON shows correct topic specific prompts, ironclads, whatever. Problem is Fal.ai's enable prompt expansion, default true, which uses LLM to rewrite prompts. The expansion can turn, I'm not sure if that's true, but we'll see. Video shorter than audio. Current flow uses the 2 to 3 segments, each 5 seconds with 2 segments left. That's 10 seconds total. FFmpeg is shortest, trims out. Okay, so the final video is 10 seconds and the audio is cut off. Yeah, I don't think this is correct. So you do have to review the AI because sometimes I think it gives incorrect things. I will just give us more information. When I first ran the script, I noticed the script.json had a bunch of text talking about educational content, and then at some point it updated to have Civil War stuff. Is there maybe a strange race condition, or maybe an initial seed that writes these files with bogus info? So again, I'm not going to trust the plan. I just don't think it's fully accurate. And you might again be like, why aren't you just using Codex or like Opus? Just because I want to play around with some new models, right? So sometimes you do want to play around with new models, see how they do. But I might run this one more time and just like delete this whole output folder and see if it can kind of do it again. Let's see here. Pipeline is fully sequential. Nothing else writes the script JSON like leftovers from a prior run. I'm going to say make each run live in a separate output directory. All right, anyway, let's try running this. And then that might be long enough for my first series of this, first video of this series. All right, looks like it's done. Let's run it again. And hopefully now we should have a run file. Yep, here's a run folder. And then it should start putting all that information inside of there. So it's generating the script first. I might just delete this stuff for now, since it should be putting it in this folder now. All right, so now we have a script. Looks like it's much longer. So we must have lost some information about keeping a certain length, but we'll see how it does. Got the audio now.
In the 1860s, the American Civil War reinvented warships.
Okay, this looks like it's going to try to create 9 video segments, so gotta be careful when you're testing this stuff because it ends up burning through a bunch of your credits. But luckily we're using a cheaper model on FAL, I believe. Let's go back and just double check. So 1407, 1397, yes, so it's not using too much money. So looking through the code, it is doing one video at a time. So this is going to take quite a long time, I think, to go and generate all the segments. So I might just prompt this real quick at a new panel over here. And I want to say, make sure that the initial script is only 15 to 20 words so that it can be around 10 seconds in total length. Also, when generating the video segments, please do it with a promise all instead of sequential so we can speed it up. And honestly, I think I might just run this. This is going to take quite a while for this to generate the segments. I don't even know why it's kind of stuck here. I wanted to at least finish one video segment so we know it's actually working. And then also, is there a way to change this to like 440 quality so that we can actually make this run faster? Resolution 480. Yeah, I might change this to 480 just so that we don't have to spend so much time waiting. And then I'm going to double check the enable prompt expansion to see if that's actually correct. Enable prompt expansion, whether to enable prompt. This will use a large language model to expand the prompt with additional details while maintaining. Yeah, I don't think we want that. Okay, so we got the first video and hopefully it is a warship. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this and then I'm going to run this over this file. And then I'm going to run this one more time. Okay, so now the script says, during the American Civil War, ironclads U.S. monitor Virginia revolutionized naval warfare, challenging wooden fleets. So I should maybe take just 2 videos to cover that one.
During the American Civil War, ironclads USS Monitor and CSS Virginia revolutionized naval warfare, challenging wooden.
Bro, why is it so slow though? Like it's super slow. 11. Let's try to figure out why it's so slow. Generate TTS. I'm curious, is there like a speed? Like a way to make it read faster? I'm sure there is. Go and ask this. I'm just asking it, like, is there a way to give it a target words per minute or something? Range effect. 11 labs doesn't expose a words per minute target, but you can control speed with the speed parameter inside voice settings. Is there a voice settings? I don't see a voice settings. Oh, but I am using MJS instead of TypeScript. That's probably why. So let's trust it. I'm going to say speed at least 1.5. All right, looks like it's done. Let's watch the final video. The last thing I want to do is add captions, but I'll probably do that next video.
During the American Civil War, ironclads USS Monitor and CSS Virginia revolutionized naval warfare,
Pretty good. I like it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to commit. Actually, first I'm going to do git ignore. I'm going to say output. We don't want to commit that stuff, but I do want to add in all these changes. If I can. Okay, add in those changes. Let's do like an initial commit. But I do think this is a good starting point. Again, when I'm building out a new project, I like to start with the most challenging part, which at this point, AI doesn't make anything challenging anymore. It's just basically prompting and reprompting until it works. But all the stuff that surrounds getting this deployed out to a working web application, I know how to do. Generating the actual videos is something that's kind of new to me. And try to get this to be deployed out into an environment that can quickly scale up if, like a ton of users generate the same video at the same time. That's also something we have to consider. Rate limits for these different foul.ai. We got to make sure that we're not hitting rate limits because that can start throwing errors where people's videos will stop creating properly if you hit the rate limits. So there's a bunch of stuff that I'm keeping in the back of my head, which we will revisit as we kind of iterate on this. But I think this is a good start. Hope you guys enjoyed this series, and we'll come back and add captions next. I'm just going to add a to-do here so we remember to-do MD. And we'll say to-dos, rate limits on foul, make sure we handle errors, and then also rate limits for 11 labs, rate limits on OpenAI. We've got to make sure we handle all those edge cases because we don't want this stuff to break. We need to add some retry logic, etc. if they start failing. And then we also need to do captions on final video, transcripts, right? So we'll have to figure out how to do that. But overall, I think this should be good. Transcript should be easy. You could probably bring in Whisper, maybe, which is like OpenAI's SDK for like grabbing transcripts. And then FFmpeg also renders them for us, so render transcripts. But those would probably be the next things I'm going to try in the next video. And then we can start adding in some more custom stylistic things or something. I don't know. We could probably work on a different user story at this point, but it's pretty good. We got a final video, and it looks good. Have a good day. Happy coding.